Our views shape our perceptions in more ways than we could ever imagine. I was just walking through this maze here, and I thought this would be a good topic for the psychology of awakening because it just so happens that views are one of the very things that we have to learn to see past in order to realize awakening and find freedom from psychological suffering. The reason for this is because views are just like a maze. They get us lost in different ways of understanding reality without actually understanding reality itself. Just think of an intellectual debate that you've recently listened to, or two people arguing or conversing about a topic. After a certain point, if not at the beginning, they are primarily talking about their own perspective as opposed to what actually is. And after a certain point, if the discussion gets heated enough, they might turn to attacking each other as opposed to the argument itself. And the reason for this is because it is really difficult to uproot and consider our own views, especially from the basis of insight. In other words, trying to get a collective understanding of what it is our views are about. Now, I'll give you a good example here to help you understand the point. Let's say you just bought a house, and this house has a number of different problems. At first, it looked really good, but after a certain amount of time, it started to develop leaks, and you decided to fix these leaks, but these problems kept getting worse, and after a certain point, you realize that the house needs to be torn down and rebuilt. Now, how many people are actually going to tear down this house and rebuild it properly from the foundation and on? Probably not many, right? And it's the same idea with our own views. Our views are very deeply rooted in our own experiences, things that have happened to us, and what we believe. Having to sit there and reconsider everything we have ever believed or learned in life is a very difficult thing to do. What we find, especially in psychotherapy, you get a first-hand account of this more than anything else. What we find is that people are more willing to maintain problematic views than to completely reconsider a different perspective or letting go of views completely. You can see this example in many different domains of life, whether it be religious, spiritual, mental health related, a view on other things, perhaps what people should eat or should not eat. All of these different things people have different perspectives on. And views get even more problematic when we attach to them. Because when we attach to views, we now identify ourselves with these views. And as anyone can relate to, it is very difficult to let go of the self and to see the flaws with our sense of self. So now, not only are we contesting and dealing with the self, we are also contesting and dealing with views that are associated with the self. This is very problematic for the psychology of awakening because both of these factors, the adherence to views and the sense of self, adherence to the sense of self, both of these lead to psychological suffering. In terms of why, I've covered this in several other videos. I won't get into it here. But for the point of views, I want to bring this up because instead of dealing with our problematic views and just accepting them, at least they're good enough, it helps to some extent, I would encourage you to take this harder approach. It's more difficult at first, but over time, if you can master what we are talking about here, you can find freedom from psychological suffering. It just has to come through this loss of attachment to all views, which again is a very difficult and very distressful thing to do, especially for us who have spent our lives viewing reality in a certain way. I can tell you from my own experience, and also from what you'll find in various scientific and spiritual literatures, there is no view you can have that is completely true and has a permanent sense. You can't find one. If you have found one, let me know. I would love to hear about it. At least for myself, I have found no such thing, right? And we can ground this all the way down to the fundamentals of everything we think we know about reality. There really is nothing to hold on to at the core if you allow yourself to go that deep in analysis. Now, again, I know this is a very difficult thing to do. Telling someone to sit there and let go of everything they thought to be, it's a difficult thing to do. But that is also why most people don't find this end to psychological suffering. I'm trying to show you that you have this capability. It just comes with the ability to tolerate the distress, at least temporarily, that comes with examining and letting go of views. So how do we actually do this? How do we actually learn to look past and let go of views? Well, there's a number of ways to do this. And in terms of the one I'm going to talk about here, this is going to be something that anybody can do. Anyone can practice meditative techniques, and most importantly, anyone can cultivate insights, deep, complete, or at least relatively complete understandings that go much further than just opinions or superficial beliefs or accepting things just at faith value. These types of insights that we get from meditative practices, they can be reality tested, right? We have the luxury and the beauty of science in terms of being able to analyze things on a deeper scale. But beyond that, you can also validate for yourself your own direct experience. But you have to have the humility to let go of attachment to views. If you can't do this, if you hold on to a certain view, like awakening is supposed to give me certain special powers, or some view is supposed to do Y for me, if you hold on to those things without validating for yourself, you're going to be stuck with what people tell you. And when this happens, it's going to be difficult to let go of that, because now you've tied yourself into this view. You believe that you can have special powers, and you believe that there's certain things. The best way to deal with this is to reality test it, right? We can do this with meditative practices. Cultivate from the basis of insight, a deep understanding of what it is you are contemplating. Don't take my words for it. If you think that you can get superpowers from awakening, or if you believe that there's certain things, capabilities you can attain, try it out for yourself. See if you can prove it. See if you can validate it. If you can, and you've truly validated for yourself, then you have found something that you can share for other people's benefit. Simple example of this, science used to look down on consciousness studies and the dimensions of consciousness and what spirituality had to share about consciousness. It maintained a view that these spiritual things were unfalsifiable and nonsensical. But now we're seeing in more recent literature, and this is ongoing, it's just a completely positive left turn on previous views we had about consciousness studies. We're now seeing that these first-person dimensions to consciousness and what we understand about the nature of consciousness, these are all within not only within the scientific domain, but they may not be reducible. However, they are still useful for mental health, neuroscience, and all those different areas. So again, I'm not sitting here and telling you what is right and what is wrong, but I am encouraging you to explore your own views for yourself. See what you can validate, see what you cannot validate, and hold those all within the premise that there is a way to find an end to psychological suffering. Again, that too is something that is difficult to understand until you've experienced it for yourself. Ultimately, and again, I'm speaking mainly from my experience here, ultimately, you will find that there is no single view that you can hold on to that gives you a definitive and permanent answer to the nature of reality. I cluster all these things as being within conventional reality. Reality as it has been constructed by our psychological functions, or in other words, our own minds. And once you let go of that, once you realize, hey, there's nothing to hold on to here. I can make myself believe certain things. I can put myself through certain mental hurdles, and that might help to some extent with psychological suffering. But whenever I do that, I don't find an end to psychological suffering. So whenever this is done, whenever you actually are able to sit and understand that no matter what it is you hold for a view, once you hold on to a view, you don't find an end to psychological suffering. Once you are able to realize that and you let go of all views, that's when you can find your freedom. Because as you will see, there continues to be reality when you let go of all views. I know it doesn't feel like that at first, but it is certainly the case. And once you recognize this, you can silently look on. Your views may be there as part of your conditioning, but you don't attach to any of them. And you're able to just sit there free, not stuck with any view. You're not even negating views. It's just a complete letting go of views. It's just like playing tug of war and pulling on one side or the other. Why not just forget the entire game, let go of the rope? That's exactly what we're doing with views. If you can do this successfully, you will find an end to psychological suffering. I wanted to add one more thing. Once you get to the point that you have fully let go of attachment to any view, what can you say about the nature of reality? You certainly can't say anything positive about it, and you certainly can't say anything negative about it. However, you find that once you let go of views, without knowing, you realize that you are it. And once this makes sense to you, once you've made that realization for yourself, you find that this is the realization you were striving for all along in terms of awakening.